Lesson 28. The first word is duplicate. It means an exact copy. Make an exact copy of. Repeat exactly. First example. Elliot tried to deceive Mrs. Held by making a duplicate of my paper. Second example. We duplicated the document so that everyone had a copy to study. Third example. The so-called expert did a mediocre job of duplicating the Van Gogh painting. Fourth example. Please make a duplicate of this document and send it to the manager. Fifth example. Keep a duplicate of your keys in a safe place. The second word is vicious. It means evil, wicked, savage. First example. Liza was unpopular because she was vicious to people she had just met. Second example. The vicious editor published false stories about people he disliked. Third example. Mr. Voss was reluctant to talk about his vicious pit bull. Fourth example. She was the target of a vicious rumor that damaged her reputation. Fifth example. He wrote a vicious comment online that offended many people. The third word is whirling. It means turning or swinging round and round, spinning. First example. The space vessel was whirling around before it landed on Earth. Second example. As they tried to lift the bulky piano, the movers went whirling across the living room. Third example. Because Angelo drank too much, he commenced to feel that everything was whirling around the bar. Fourth example. The leaves were whirling in the wind on a chilly autumn day. Fifth example. She felt dizzy after whirling around on the dance floor. The fourth word is underdog. It means person having the worst of any struggle, one who is expected to lose. First example. Minority groups complain about being the underdogs in this century. Second example. I always feel sorry for the underdog in a street fight. Third example. The Jets were identified as underdog even though they had beaten the Steelers earlier in the season. Fourth example. She was the underdog in the election, but she surprised everyone by winning. Fifth example. Despite being the underdog, he trained hard and beat the top-ranked player. The fifth word is thrust. It means push with force. First example. Once the jet engine was ignited, it thrust the rocket from the ground. Second example. He had adequate strength to thrust himself through the locked door. Third example. Eva was in a terrible rage when she thrust herself into the room. Fourth example. The main thrust of his argument was that we need faster action on climate change. Fifth example. He thrust his hand into his pocket to grab his phone. The sixth word is bewildered. It means confused completely, puzzled. First example. The lawyer was bewildered by his client's lack of interest in the case. Second example. His partner's weird actions left Jack bewildered. Third example. Bewildered by the sudden hazy weather, he decided not to go to the beach. Fourth example. The tourist was bewildered by the city's complex subway system. Fifth example. The child was bewildered by all the noise and flashing lights at the carnival. Now we have a short story from the words we have learned. The underdog storm. Jenna stood bewildered in the center of the arena, the roar of the crowd echoing in her ears. She had trained for this moment, but now, under the blinding lights and intense pressure, her mind spun like the whirling winds of a storm. Across from her stood Zara, the reigning champion, strong, fast, and known for her vicious style. No one expected Jenna to win. She was the clear underdog, the one the crowd came to see lose. The bell rang. Zara charged, her movements sharp and aggressive. Jenna barely dodged a thrust of Zara's elbow. The impact of the wind alone made her stumble. For a moment, she saw duplicate images of her opponent, her head still spinning from the shock. But then something changed. Jenna steadied herself. She remembered her training. She wasn't here to impress anyone. She was here to prove to herself that she belonged. With a deep breath, she countered the next attack, her own hands moving with unexpected speed. The crowd gasped. The underdog had just landed a clean hit. Zara hesitated, and in that hesitation, Jenna saw her chance. With one final, perfectly timed thrust, she brought her opponent down. The arena fell silent, then erupted in cheers. Jenna stood tall, no longer bewildered, no longer overlooked. She had become the storm. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and until the next one, goodbye. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Your support is truly appreciated.